to story time today. We have a very, very special story to read today. I'm so excited. Well, I have a question for you. First thing, do you remember right before Christmas when we read this book together? This is The Legend of the Candy Cane. Do you remember reading that story together? Well, we learned about the story that the candy cane tells us about Christmas, and each of you got to take home your own candy cane, and your job was to tell your grown-up the legend of the candy cane. So friends, what are we about to celebrate on Sunday? That's right, Easter. So today we're going to read The Legend of the Easter Egg. Friends, like I said, this is one of my most favorite stories. When I was little, my mommy and my daddy used to read me this story, and it is so beautiful. It's a beautiful story about Easter. I can't wait to share this book with you today. So let's go ahead and let's get started. There's the front. What do you notice about the cover? What do you think this book's going to be about? All right, let's check it out. Let's see. The Legend of the Easter Egg. One April morning, when the air was soft and sweet, a boy and his sister went outside to gather eggs. "Easter's coming," the sister said. "Let's pretend we're hunting Easter eggs." "What are Easter eggs?" the boy asked. "Don't you remember?" the girl said. He thought and he thought, but he couldn't remember. He was going to ask again, but just then she scared up a hen squawking from its nest in the grass. "Look!" she cried. Smiling, she held up a rosy brown egg. So, there's the boy and his sister. There's the hen. Do you see the egg anywhere? There they are. That night, the boy woke to the sound of his name. "Thomas!" His mother's face bent over his. "Your sister is sick. Papa must take you away." Thomas let his mother slip off his warm nightshirt. He held up his arms as she pulled a sweater over his head and sat down when she tugged on his knickers. When she told him he could not see Lucy, he nodded. When Papa told him where he was taking him, he smiled. Oh, if he smiled, he must be happy about the place he's going. But he was not really awake. He did not understand. Wonder where he was going. Let's see. When he woke again, Thomas did not know where he was. His bedroom was gone. Mama, Papa, and Lucy were gone. But before he could even think about being scared, his eyes grew wide, and he sat bolt upright. Had he died? Was this heaven? Because all around him was candy. Long branches of licorice and tiny jeweled rock candy. Yellow, white, purple, and pink jelly beans. Marshmallow chicks and tiny chocolate eggs. He stood up very slowly. "Morning, Thomas," a familiar voice said. It was John Sonneman. Thomas had come to stay with John and his new wife, Mary, at their candy store, just as Papa had said. Friends, do you remember? This is John Sonneman. John Sonneman was the one that moved to town all by himself. He started his own candy store. He's the one that told the story of the legend of the candy cane. How cool. We're making those connections. All that long Wednesday, Thomas helped Mr. Sonneman in his store. He filled jars of candy, he weighed chocolate on tippy scales, and scrubbed the counter until it gleamed. That means it was really clean if it gleamed. All day, Mr. Sonneman let him eat smidgens of fudge. Smidgens is like a little bit, little smidgen of fudge and bits of broken peppermint sticks. When he finished cleaning out the cook stove for Mrs. Sonneman, she looked at him and laughed. "Goodness gracious," she said, "you have ash on your face." With her thumb, she wiped him clean. He smiled, but inside, his heart felt very sad. His sister was sick. He couldn't be with her, and there was nothing he could do. Yeah, he looks sad, doesn't he? He has a very sad face. I would be sad if I couldn't see my sister. On Sunday after church, Thomas went outside to play. At the edge of a small stream, he broke off a young reed, put it between his two thumbs, and blew. Squawk! "Okay!" a red-winged blackbird sang in reply. Two swallows whirled overhead. "Cheer! Cheer!" they cried. Suddenly, Thomas threw the reed at them, then snatched up pebbles and threw them too. A robin cocked his head, peering at him with one eye. "Tut, tut," it chided. "Silly birds," Thomas muttered as he walked away. Why do you think he threw why do you think he threw pebbles at the birdies? Maybe because he's feeling upset, he's feeling sad, he might be feeling lonely. He was upset, but is it right to throw things at animals or birds? No. More days passed. Thomas learned that Lucy had scarlet fever. A red rash covered her body. Her face burned with fever. She was really sick. Every night at dinner, John Sonneman prayed for her to get well. Sometimes Mary Sonneman felt his forehead. He wished he could be sick too, but his body was white and healthy, and his face cool and dry. On Thursday, Mary sent him out to trade for eggs. When he returned, his shoes and socks were caked in mud. "Spring!" Mary laughed, so beautiful and so messy at the same time. Kneeling, she took off his shoes and socks and cleaned his feet in a pail of warm water. The water tickled his toes, and for the first time in days, he giggled. I bet some of you are ticklish on your toes. Friday dawned bleak and cold. At noon, the stores closed, and everyone went to church. Thomas listened to the story of Jesus' death. The minister talked for a long time. "Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white